I am a pro-life evangelical Democrat, and I I think one important issue here, as the Supreme Court is deciding to overturn the Roe versus Wade precedent, is that it's important to keep in mind that Republican leadership does not care about abortion. What they care about is a hot button issue by which they can lead a large section of their constituency by the nose. There is, if the Supreme Court does overturn Roe versus Wade, it's like the party balloon that you see, the long party balloons that people can make hats or dogs or swords or whatever they make out of them. Um, if you squeeze one part of the balloon, the air moves to another part of the balloon. And there are states, most of them are states with small populations, that will uh, enact strict abortion restrictions if Roe versus Wade is overturned. And that means that women who need abortions will then go to states that do provide them. We just move the problem around. But that has always been the conservative Republican solution to whatever problem there might be. And as I say, abortion is a problem. I want it to be as rare as possible, while keeping it safe and legal. And during the time it has been safe and legal, the rate of abortions has gone down, 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 down. That is because we have enacted the ability of women to have abortions, which reduces the demand. Now, here's something to keep in mind. Why then would conservatives choose this issue? There are many issues that are killing people. Lack of medical care kills people all the time. Goodness, there are many issues that are killing people. Why choose abortion? Well, abortion is a delightful issue for conservatives and Republicans because it requires nothing. All it requires is self-righteousness and to eschew, to look down on, to be condescending toward other individuals and say, "Oh, I'm so thankful that I am not like that person." It the child himself that we claim to care so much about is inside the mother. There is nothing. There is no obligation. The child, you can't do anything specifically for that child. That is why it is such a simple, such a delightful issue. You cannot help that child. You cannot hurt that child. The child will take everything he needs from his mother. So we denigrate the mother, those welfare queens, nasty, no good, uh, immoral women running around having sex, having babies. And we say, "Oh, the child that we don't have to do anything for." And that is why, as soon as the child is born, we immediately cast that child off. He's a gutter rat. He's no good. Let's make sure we get him into a juvenile facility. Enforce the law on that person as hard as we can. We want to make sure that he gets his comeuppance. That is also why pro-life organizations work so hard. I mean, in the effort to help mothers, they've got a back room with canned goods that nobody wants and used toys and used maternity clothes that you'd have to be very desperate to want. They give little tiny bits toward helping, and they're ready for legislation because legislation is where scalable evil and scalable good can happen. You can ruin the lives of millions through legislation. You can also help millions through legislation. And that is why, insofar as arresting people, indicting people, ruining the lives of people, that's the pro-life legislation. That's the big money they want to spend. The teeny tiny bits is in the back room with the dirty used toys that that they might have to help, and they might have to help women. The if these in these states where abortion is going to be very, very restricted after the Trump appointed justices do his bidding and do what they were hired to do, what will happen is that it will be, of course, poor women that are affected the most. Sex is not very restricted to poor or wealthy. Everybody's having sex as much as they want to and when they get the opportunity to do so. But if a woman lives in a household that's making $200,000 a year and obviously doesn't live in a altered urban area where the price of living is tremendously high, then if she needs an abortion, she can get on a plane and go anywhere and reserve a motel or hotel in which to stay during her time, and then take a plane back home. A woman with money will have no restrictions insofar as the ability to obtain an abortion, and she will have less of a need for an abortion because the decision to have an abortion is an issue of poverty. A poor woman will have fewer options, and therefore you might be able to restrict her ability to obtain an abortion. This will increase poverty, which again will increase the demand for abortions more and more. This is a method for keeping poor people poor and wealthy people as wealthy as possible. You do not have an issue where these nasty people are being promiscuous and the good people are not. No, people are having sex everywhere. But this is always the Republican way, the conservative way to go about dealing with any social issue. It is fast, cheap, simple, and easy to say that you are restricting the supply. I have every sympathy for the desire. We do not have any conception of how horrible the problem of alcohol was when people were working toward prohibition. In the cities especially, it was really, really terrible. Now, there's a way you can go about trying to deal with that. You can deal with it the fast, cheap, simple, easy way that doesn't work by passing prohibition and trying to restrict the supply. Or you can work to reduce poverty in the cities and make the standard of life in the cities better. But of course, that requires work. It's easy to just say, we're going to restrict the supply. It requires work to restrict the demand. And that is why conservatives will always work to restrict the supply. The same is true on the war on drugs. Let's go after the suppliers. Let's go after the dealers. But the demand is still there. The same with alcohol. The demand was still there, and therefore both situations were flops. In the 40s, everybody smoked. Everybody smoked because Andy Taylor smoked. Raymond Burr, Perry Mason, he smoked. All the people on television smoked. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz both smoked while they were on their I Love Lucy show. and therefore smoking was cool. Now, not nearly as many people smoke now, and that is because we addressed the demand. How did we address the demand? You can't find anybody, even the bad guys hardly ever smoke on television and on movies. You We changed the demand. We changed the ability of tobacco companies to advertise, which reduced the demand. And we had public education, which reduced the demand. It wasn't easy. It took decades, but many, many, many fewer people smoke now than they used to. It is fast, cheap, simple, and easy. I often say, I'd like a bumper sticker that says, "Real solutions do not fit on bumpers." If we want to accomplish anything good, it's going to require planning. Isaiah 32:8, the liberal man will make liberal plans, and by those liberal plans, he will stand. And yes, that means liberal. That means caring about other people. That means working for good. And it ain't easy. And it takes time. The way we can stop abortion, it isn't hard to do. You address the demand. Say a woman has very little money and she becomes pregnant. Well, she can decide to have an abortion or to keep and raise the child. If she decides to keep and raise the child, she is condemning herself to 18 years of poverty. Because how can she go to work and care for the child at home? You can't just lock the child up in a box while you're at work. You've got, and my children needed childcare. I couldn't believe the amount they were spending on childcare while both of them went to work. It's a wild, wild situation, and a person without means cannot afford it. So the first thing you do to stop abortion is you do good. Do good? I'm not allowed to do that. I'm an evangelical. We're supposed to put people in prison. Just because God says you get them out of prison, that doesn't mean anything. What it means is we need to attack people. We need to make people's lives bad. That way they'll do the right thing. No, that's not the way it works. And the problem is, you might find people do it, except it doesn't work. To stop the supply of alcohol does not stop the demand and the consumption of alcohol. The mafia will find a way to get the rum runners will find a way to get the alcohol to you. To stop drugs, it does not work to stop the supply of drugs. You have to stop the demand. If you want to stop abortions, it's not going to work. This is America. If Texas stops abortions, there are states around Texas that will greatly expand. Planned Parenthood will greatly expand in the areas in the states where abortions are legal. And because you have reduced the supply, the pent-up demand will grow and the supply will appear because we live in America. The best way to stop abortions is to stop the demand. You do that by providing quality, affordable child care. That is because then a woman may find out that she is going to have a child, but she will also find out that she is able to keep the child should she so choose. Also, providing universal medical care. Now, that is something that conservatives hate. And that is because it increases benefit over a wide swath of people, as would affordable, quality child care and parental leave. And the purpose of a conservative is to conserve, is to keep things the way they are, is to have no change. Why? Because the current status quo benefits people who look like me. Okay? Therefore, we do not want it to change. We are conservators. We want to keep things as they are. If you provide quality, affordable childcare, other people will start gaining benefits across the country. If we provide medical care for more and more people across the country, then again, people will have the ability to ascend. No, things need to stay as they are. We are conservatives. We are conservators of things as they are.